Back with Backroads and Backstories Country in the Park edition as we get ready for Sacramento's biggest country music festival, May 8th and 9th. And this is an exciting one for me because I've been such a fan of Turnpike Troubadours for such a long time. And when we found out that we got them for Country in the Park, I mean, this was such a huge win. Evan, thank you so much for being able to spend some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk. I want to go back to the Turnpike beginning. You grew up watching your uncle on stage. One of the beginning gifts that you got from him was a guitar. I mean, talk with us a little bit about the beginning stages of the musical influence that kind of brought you to where you are today.
Oh, my uncle's band was called Black Wednesday, and he had a band called Diffuser, and they played in Tulsa. He had been in the military. He was a Marine, and he wound up in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, kind of when all the right after the sort of Nirvana stuff was going on, and so they were a rock band. And anyway, that they played sort of that grunge kind of music, and I just thought it showed me that a normal person could, number one, play music and people see it, and then number two, just that it was possible to even attain something like that. I grew up in a really small town in southeast Oklahoma, so you didn't see much of it.
So when you got that guitar and you were following your uncle and they did a lot of the grunge sound, what were some of the first songs that you started playing?
I think I learned like "Come as You Are" by Nirvana, and like the stuff that everybody learns. Like I probably learned like "Walk Don't Run" and like some of those surf songs and stuff like that. But anything you could play, anything that sounded like a real song, and then slowly started. I learned three chords and started singing some of the country songs that my friends played at parties or whatever, like standards like Margaritaville or whatever, just like whatever was possible to play, and went down that rabbit hole, and found Towns Van Zant and some other stuff like that, and fell in love with it too. But
So
George
talking
Strait, like the George Strait songs I always thought those were great.
I would love to be able to see you do the mashup of "Come as You Are" with a George Strait song, do check yes or no, kind of in between and a melodic.
That's that sounds like a more Sturgill Simpson territory.
I don't know. Like Ernest is such a huge fan in that wide genre too. It's like maybe you guys could come up with some good way to be able to bring it all together.
Hmm.
So let's go back to the beginning of Turnpike. Bossier City, first album that no longer is out online, but there's rumors that it potentially might get re-recorded. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we've thought about it. We've kicked it around, maybe redoing it, and getting some of the guys that played on it to do it. I don't know. Just when we get some free time, we might do something like that.
One of the things that I think has been so fun to be able to really learn about you and the contributions that you've put into music, but the honesty that you've given the fans over the years when you went through a really really tough time. When you were out on the road and you knew it was time to set it down for a little bit and focus on yourself, and I know you went and just kind of got away from the music scene and went into farming. How did you know? How was it in your head where you said, I've got to step away from this for my mental health?
Oh yeah, it was just not manageable anymore, and we went it. We had played, and I think this is a common thing that happens, but we played a long time past the point of manageability, but we were still mostly functional, and nine times out of ten we played good, and we were able to do things, and I think the first signs of it, I should have backed up and made some changes, but hindsight's 2020, and I wouldn't trade anything right now for what my life is because of that. So but it is an option. That's what I always kind of sort of try to tell people that are doing that stuff. You just have to watch out for wearing yourself out, or maybe getting to where you drink too much or something like that.
Where kind of on that note, I mean, what would you tell people, not only just musicians, but people in general, to know about themselves when they hit that burnout line, and so it doesn't turn into any more? Like last week, Dan and Shay released a song that was really about mental health awareness. We've talked with Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, who's from Sacramento, about mental health, and he's certainly a huge advocate of that as well. And what advice would you give to people?
I'm not really just in the giving out advice market, but I will say that, you know, if you think that it is, n- if you think that your life's not real manageable, then you should talk to somebody who's been through that stuff, and see what worked out for them. And I just, I sort of try to live my life and talk about it a lot, as much as I can, so that people know that it's not a foreign situation, like it sort of felt like for me at times.
I want to talk a little bit about the album Price of Admission. You cut that album at Sunset with Shooter, and I know you guys had worked together before, but same studio as people like Prince, Zeppelin. What was that like? What was the energy like in that studio? Did you feel something different than maybe when you were cutting some of the other albums?
Oh man, yes, yes. The short answer is yes. It feels like the real thing. I mean, there's the piano in that room is the one that was on after the Gold Rush, and Prince did all that stuff in there. I believe Waylon did some stuff there. It's just, that you're not, like, you're not in the wrong spot. You know that you're somewhere where you can make something great.
Did you feel that that changed like any of the creative juices in there? Did everyone else kind of feed upon it too?
I think so. And we really hit our stride, just arranging those songs in a simple manner. Not trying to overthink things, and just trying to make these things fun to play live. And to make sense and be intuitive and feel good.
I absolutely love the writing you do because it's storytelling. And one of the things that some of your fans really hang on to are the characters and the character development, like reading a great book and learning about Lori and Jimmy. And people want to know, are there more evolution to them? Is more coming because they've been on pause a little bit?
hmm Yeah, I think so. I That's another thing I want to do, is to sort of work toward doing some songs, or maybe a record that's just all about that, characters that live in that, and sort of a concept thing, maybe. Or when we get time, we're working on a new record right now, so
Well, tell us about the new record. What's the next chapter now for Turnpike looking like?
it's a big surprise. But we've got a few songs in the can. We're going back in, so our plans are to try to kick something out this year.
From a workload standpoint, not like you don't have enough going on, but thinking about the characters, have you ever thought of like writing a book and taking it more and those characters and developing them more maybe off the music side?
Yeah, I would love to do that, and I think about it a lot, but I always feel like writing songs is such a thing to be grateful for, to be able to do that, that I should, do it when I can, because I already have an audience for that. I already have people that want to do that stuff, and I already have, a stage and room for that material. So it's sometimes hard for me to. I feel like it would be a distraction from the thing, my main thing.
Well, speaking of distractions and as if you don't have enough work going on, I mean, let's talk about the relationship now that you have with Taylor Sheridan and Landman and Yellowstone and seeing you on TV. I mean, that was just it was just awesome to be able to see, the just the credit that you guys are getting in that lane. How did that friendship and passion sort of come about, and how did it all work?
And that's all Taylor. He really loves. He's a Texan. He really loves Texas music, independent music, anything with that spirit of independence. And he he does a lot for artists that are, for independent artists. He's helped out a bunch of us, and he is, man. That guy is probably the most prolific artist that I know of. You see a day in the life of Taylor, and he's working on 5 projects at once and still riding cutting horses. And it's pretty inspiring to be around somebody that wants to work that hard. Like, I don't think people really understand how much he puts into that, how much of his life he puts into all those projects and everything. And it's impressive when you see it up close.
Do you think you'll have a continued relationship as more from Landman comes out?
Maybe, I hope so. I think if we keep putting out good music and he likes it, then he'll include it. I do think that he is one of those people that doesn't put out the stuff that he doesn't include in his work, the songs that he doesn't like. So
What was it like being on set for the first time when you guys made that appearance?
it was pretty surreal. I'd seen like the Yellowstone stuff years before. This was I think we were in the final season, maybe in like the last couple of episodes, and that series has been kicking around maybe 8 or 10 years, right? Um, and but seeing the barn and seeing the house that where you'd seen all those episodes and stuff, that was it was really neat. And then the people there were amazing and professional, and they made us feel pretty important in a show that's already a juggernaut, and they're it's good people. I was thoroughly impressed.
You've had a major influence on a lot of people's career. One of them, Charlie Crockett, who got up at the Grammys and said that he wouldn't have had a career if it wasn't for you, and that he had handed you a CD outside of one of the shows. Is there anything that you recall about that moment? And two, like how did that make you feel when you heard him give so much love to you?
Charlie is really really nice. Charlie, and I've said this before, but Charlie made it to where he is because he works really hard, and he was not going to take no for an answer. Um, and I think that's pretty apparent when if you know anything about Charlie. But yeah, he was. I mean, he hustles, man. He's out there playing outside of a show because he didn't have a gig that night, and I walked out and saw him and got a CD from him, and loved it. And then hadn't made contact with him, and then it was a few years later I looked up and he was on the road with us, and we've been kind of really tight friends ever since. We toured all over the U.S. together, and he's a he's a talented guy, another prolific guy. He writes a lot and puts out a lot of material.
One of the main reasons that we're talking today, Country in the Park, May 8th and 9th at Cal Expo. You guys are playing on Friday night with John Party, hometown boy of Sacramento. And you guys are making new fans out west. As I talk to people, and there's this huge underground following like me that are huge Turnpike fans. But for the people that may not have seen you guys before, maybe have just seen you in Yellowstone, what would you want people to know about what they're going to expect when Turnpike hits the stage?
For us, it's about the songs. We just we do a lot of we try to do a good representation of the songs, and it's a lot of what the appeal to this band to me is, other than a lot of guys that can really play their instruments extremely well, is the stories kind of getting to the heart of the matter and sort of um grabbing you and taking you to a different place. And I would just tell people to check us out and find some of our songs and see if they connect with them, and hopefully they will.
I feel like everything that you guys write is so storytelling, and I'm just such a passionate fan of songs that are that way. And again, the character development. So there's something new, and it kind of leaves you hanging in a previous song, going, "What's going to happen with these guys next?" Because you know something else is coming, and you're just waiting. You do such a great hook. It's similar to how Taylor does it on TV with Yellowstone or Landman. You go, no, 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 I got to wait another week, or I got to wait another season to be able to get this.
Some of my favorite stories and my favorite books, they sort of end with the character still in motion, and so you leave that story building another story in your head, for the next thing. And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but you don't feel empty, and you don't leave the work feeling like it's a sad tragedy ending or a happy ending. It's no ending. It's just whatever you want to make it.
It reminds me a lot of I think back of The Sopranos, where I watched the ending and it was like, what? My wife always tells the story that she yelled at her son because she thought he unplugged the TV right at the end.
That was quite a choice. That stirred up a lot of people, I remember.
Well, Evan, Turnpike Troubadours, so excited to be able to see you guys on May 8th with John Party and Dylan Scott at Country in the Park, CITPfest.com. Make sure you click below and like this episode of Backroads and Backstories Country in the Park edition. And we look forward to seeing you in May, man. It is going to be fun. Record-breaking attendance already on the line for Country in the Park on both Friday and Saturday. So Sacramento is going to show you a lot of love, I promise.
All right. Thank you so much.
Evan, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Evan from Turnpike Troubadours. Appreciate you dropping by, and have a great one, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.